What's up, everybody? It's Wes and Andy, and we are back Sunday night.
The road to Ahsoka.
It is officially the road to Ahsoka. Or we're making it that way anyway.
Yeah.
Still got a few weeks to go. We're looking at an August 31st premiere on Disney Plus for the Ahsoka Tano live action series. Now, in case you're wondering, we are now we're flying the missing man again tonight.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there is a major fire currently happening outside of Halifax
in forest and subdivision
in Tantalon. So first of all, our thoughts are go out to everybody who is affected by the fire. I hope that people are having a bad day right now, and I hope that the community can come together and help those people out, because it's an awful thing to lose everything, and certainly hopefully no lives are lost.
Yeah.
That being said, Hank is a few kilometers away. There's a river that separates him between the fire, so hopefully fingers crossed that all is well. However, their services are being affected, so right now Hank has no internet. So we are thinking of you, and we are thinking of everybody else in Tantalon tonight. Getting back to Ahsoka, fan favorite character, right?
I would think so.
All right. Well, before we get into anything, because we've just circled back to the thing that we keep saying we don't do,
Star Wars.
I guess it's time to
Is it time?
Open up the trunk here, open up the door, and let out the bad Star Wars jokes. Nice. All right. This one might be the worst one we've ever done. Why did Anakin Skywalker cross the road?
To get to the other side. In space, they don't need roads. They have hyperlanes.
To get to the dark side. It's awful.
Did the Emperor take his hand and lead him across?
It's awful. Something.
Come with me, Anakin. We will cross.
Okay. Are we good?
I think so. But we're not here to talk about Anakin.
We are not.
Not directly.
Well,
indirect.
Introduced in 2008 as a supporting character in the Star Wars, the Clone Wars film, Ahsoka Tano wasn't originally envisioned as the viewpoint for the audience during that film. Instead, she was intended to showcase Anakin Skywalker's growth as a mentor, allowing the audience to witness his teaching and leadership skills and how his approach was different from other Jedi of the day. No doubt. Of course, that movie, and indeed much of the first season of the Clone Wars, was written with a younger audience in mind. And for a lot of kids, Ahsoka would become the viewpoint for an audience that quite literally grew up alongside her. Ahsoka started as a brash, young Jedi apprentice whose methods often clashed with her master, eventually leaving the Jedi Order, where she would mature and develop a broader perspective of the Force, before returning to the galaxy at large as one of the architects of the fledgling rebellion against the Galactic Empire. This August, Ahsoka is about to take the center stage in her own live-action series. And set in the Mandoverse, between the period between the events of Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, the marketing for the show would suggest that there is still a lot of unfinished business from the series finale of Star Wars Rebels. So for the next 8 weeks or so, I might be off in my math a little bit there.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
We're going to take a look back at Ahsoka and her development as a character, and how did we get here? We're going to do that through the lens of the Ahsoka Tano Essential Episodes playlist on Disney Plus. So if you have a subscription to Disney Plus,
you can go check that out.
You can go check out the Ahsoka playlist that is there. Tonight, we're going to go through the first 3 episodes. And fans of our show, this may look kind of familiar to you. I mean, we do have a bit of a format, so I didn't stray too far off the script. In fact, my notes are probably not as good as I would like them to be, and still overly cumbersome and clumsy.
Nah, they'll be good.
Regardless, guys, if you have comments and thoughts on Ahsoka and your connection to the character, please share them with us in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys and get your thoughts on Ahsoka.
Have you been there the whole time, or did you find her along the way?
Well, see, I was there. Oh, I did go see the Clone Wars in the theater.
Oh,
yeah. I did see it in theater. I definitely thought it was for that. The movie especially was for a younger audience.
Yeah.
And I still make fun of all of the the comments about Snips and
Sky Guy,
Chewie and Sky Guy, and I'm not really.
She evolves past that.
She does, and again, that series just got progressively better and better and
easily better every time.
Yeah.
First comment coming in here.
Sarah on YouTube says, I liked Ahsoka from her first appearance, and I'm really looking forward to seeing her series. We are too. So tonight we're going to be covering, now this is Clone Wars Season 1, Episode 2, Rising Malevolence. We're also going to take a look at Season 1, Episode 19, Storm over Ryloth. And we're going to round it out with, let me see here. Let me flip forward.
Season 3, I believe.
There it is. Season 3, Episode 21, Padawan Lost. So, shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's dive in.
All right, well, hang on a second. Let me change things up here.
Get some presentations
Let's do that one. And let's go that one.
Mm-hmm.
And there we are. There we go. I guess I should have brought this up a little bit earlier. Taking a look back at the character, I thought it'd be kind of cool if we had a look at the evolution,
the humble beginnings, as it were,
the evolution of her character model. I mean, she has way more looks than what I've collected here, but these are sort of the quintessential looks for the character. There's some early concept art for her.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty sure that's some of that is, if not all of that, is Dave Filoni's work. According to Pablo Hidalgo, though. Pablo says that Ahsoka Tano is actually originally a George Lucas idea that really? Dave Filoni fleshed out. Huh. I know that Ahsoka is very close to his heart.
You could say that about the whole Star Wars universe at this point, though.
What's that?
That it was George Lucas's idea, and Filoni has fleshed it out.
Yeah, not just Dave too. I mean, if we're talking the whole franchise, there's a lot of creatives that have
contributing to it.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is largely her early on, like the
Season 1 movie.
Yeah.
She's, I don't know, it's almost
young teenager.
Yeah, like a rebellious teenager phase.
Yeah, almost not preteen, but like tween.
Yeah,
I'd tween, 12, 13, I guess.
Yeah.
I was not a huge fan of this look.
No?
Looking back on them, no, not a huge fan.
It's still better than the ballerina look.
You mean in the concept
art? Yeah.
Fast forward a couple of seasons, we get to season 3. Now she had the season 3 to season 5. I do say season 5 because season 6 was the lost episodes, just a handful of them from that showed on Netflix actually. This I thought was a much nicer look. They aged her up a little bit, which is interesting because the Clone Wars was only 3 years. But again, kids,
they sprout.
Kids having a growth spurt. No surprise there.
Yep.
And then we get her season 7 look, which is so good.
It's like she's matured and she knows what she needs to be in battle at this point.
Yeah. And then, of course, my favorite look is her look from Star Wars Rebels, as or Fulcrum, if you want to call her that. Either is correct. And then finally finishing off with now we've got her in live action. We had her back in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. And if you thought that she hadn't evolved between the two shows, the marketing material would say that is not true.
Yep. As
mysteriously between shows, her head tails have now grown. So she's maybe a little closer to a hybrid between her Clone Wars look and her Star Wars Rebels look. I don't know, man. What's your favorite look?
I'm kind of partial to Rosario Dawson, so I like the live action.
You do, eh? Yeah, I love the Rebels look, but she had a ton more looks. She had the winter outfit. She had like a diving suit at one point. All these environmentally specific looks, but by and large, these are the main looks for the character. Still not sure how I feel about the reconciliation from animation to live action. I do like Rosario Dawson. I don't have any issue with her playing the character. Just hasn't resonated with me the same way that Ashley Eckstein's work has. So I'm hoping when we get to her solo series that because it is so we think it's so closely tied to the
Mandalorian.
I was going to say to Rebels.
Oh, that
because Rebels of all Star Wars animation is my favorite of all of them,
which I still have yet to finish.
Man, get on it!
I know.
Get on it! All right. So again, like I said, this probably will look familiar to you if you've watched our show before, as we kind of mumble through the plot. But I've tried to go as light as possible on the slides because I don't want to focus. I don't want to get too bogged down on the plot. I really want to get into the stuff that makes Ahsoka. Now you can't do that without some of these plot elements because they
you have to see what situation she's in to know how she's going to react to it.
Yeah. I look at these 3 episodes as sort of this first 3 episodes anyway, sort of give us, they inform us a little bit about her relationship with other people, particularly
and not just people she knows, but
that's right. Yeah.
Other people in general as well.
Yeah, absolutely. When we get to the first episode here, sorry, what am I doing here? Storm over, nope, I didn't do that right. Let me go back.
There you go.
Rising Malevolence. This one really speaks to the relationship she has, and not necessarily with her master, but with Jedi Master Plo Koon, who plays a very important role in Ahsoka's development. That being said, let's get to it here.
I would say he provides the role that gets her to where she is.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, she says that right in the episode that he was the one that brought her to the Jedi Temple. And so then I think back to when we were watching and talking about Tales of the Jedi. I'm like, did they miss an opportunity here by not having him show up at the end of her arc when Gantika is like, Ahsoka is Jedi?
Yeah.
You know, they could have done like a little time lapse thing and have him show up to collect her. That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah. But at the same time, if they're saving for a season 2,
she said, "Oh yeah, well that's true." She says, "Not only, are they? Oh my gosh!" She says that he's actually one of her closest friends.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Because you would think after he brought her there, he would, keep an eye on her, check in on her, make sure all is good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, season 1, episode 2, although it is the second episode to be broadcast in the chronology that has become Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which, if you haven't checked it out, there is a chronological order. It's all over the internet. I tend to look at the one on StarWars.com, but this is actually the 6th episode chronologically. It originally aired October 3rd, 2008. And the episode synopsis says that creating panic throughout the galaxy, a devastating separatist mystery weapon terrorizes the clone Starfleet. Anakin and Ahsoka race to save Jedi Master Plo Koon and his clone troopers in time. Jedi Master Plo Koon and his squad barely survive an attack from a mysterious separatist warship called the Malevolence. Can they stay alive long enough for Anakin and Ahsoka to find them? I thought this episode gives us like one of the, if not the earliest look at Ahsoka's boundless levels of hope. In Star Wars, we've talked about this many times. One of the recurrent and prevailing themes of Star Wars is hope. We get a line from Jyn Erso about rebellions being built on hope. Leia said it in Rogue One. What is it? Hope. Right. So, and Ahsoka is just another embodiment of that. Now, because the Malevolence has left no survivors and there were no distress beacons, it is assumed that Plo Koon and his fleet were all lost. So the council informs Anakin and Ahsoka that all the ships will be redeployed including theirs, citing that they can't afford any more losses. Now, hang on a second here. We got a message coming in here.
Hey.
Oh, look at that. It's Hank. Hank wanted to say, I couldn't comment from YouTube for some reason, so I'm here on Facebook. Godspeed. Thank you, sir. Don't forget, chime in with your comments as we go along here. Jump in with your points that you want to make, and I will make sure to we'll make sure to get those up and talk about them.
Be safe.
And yes, absolutely be safe. One eye on the screen, one eye on the fire. All right, so Ahsoka pleads with the council, and not only is it it's out of turn, and it's against Anakin's instructions when he says, "Do not speak unless you are spoken to."
Yeah, like mere seconds ago.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yep."
What's interesting is this gives us that sense of, and I said this earlier in our private chat throughout the week as we were preparing the episode, like, you really get this reminder that Ahsoka Tano is to Anakin Skywalker as Anakin is to Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's this sort of impetuousness and an impulsiveness to her youth. And it's such a contrast to see Anakin sort of in the mentor role. You can certainly see elements of Obi-Wan's teachings coming through, but then, I mean, how many times over the course of the series does he just sort of throw that out the window and do, you know, kind of whatever he wants to? Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like an extension of Qui-Gon Jinn's teachings to Obi-Wan, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you get that many degrees away, and I don't want to say belligerent or ignorant to their teachings,
right.
But they just take it that extra step.
Yeah.
Well,
meanwhile, over in the escape pod, the clones fear that they will not survive. Oh, sorry, I went too far. The clones fear that they won't survive, while Plo Koon rallies them to keep up morale. But time is precious because Count Dooku and General Grievous have dispatched a hunter pod that is filled with battle droids in order to scuttle all of the Republic escape pods. Do you remember this arc with the Malevolence? It's basically a giant ion cannon that just kind of decimated.
I want to
knocked
say like
out all the electronics.
Yeah, like what am I thinking of here? Upper atmosphere explosion, EMP.
Yeah,
traveling
absolutely.
EMP, basically.
Absolutely. Excuse me. Hank's comment says she brings out the best of Anakin the same way that Anakin brings out the best in Obi-Wan. It's interesting how there's I don't know. The age gap here is less. Like the Obi-Wan Anakin age gap, Obi-Wan's in his 20s when he picks up Anakin, who's 9 years old,
something like that. Yeah,
Anakin's still this is still like Attack of the Clones. This is between Attack of the Clones and
so they say it's
Revenge of the
10
Sith.
years since that.
So he's 19,
20, somewhere in there.
We were just saying, I see Ahsoka as a tween here, like 13, maybe even 14.
Yeah.
And because that age gap is so much narrower than it is between Obi and Anakin, there's some crossover with that impetuousness that I was talking about before. Like they both have some similar. Oh, so Hank says she's actually 14. Okay, perfect. Doily. That's a Wes-ism. Like I know that was probably auto-corrected, but that's a total Wes-ism.
I don't think we actually do get to see them on the same ship.
We do on this one. We do, yeah.
Well, yeah, we get to see him here, and then he's like
again later on in the war. That's a good question. I don't know if we do or not.
Because at the end, he's like, "You just pissed off my master. I'm going to go talk to him."
Yeah. Dooku and Grievous on the same ship. Do we see it again? Do we see that again during the course of the war? I don't know if we do or we don't. I'm certainly going to be looking for it now, though.
But yeah.
Right. So trying to keep up morale as these battle droids are essentially there to scuttle all of the escape pods.
Yeah.
And it's pretty grim in this episode too.
Like
as we see guys getting like blown out into the vacuum of
into
space. Yeah. like Vader and Tarkin on the Death Star. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, very much like that. You don't see them again. Well, of course, one of them dies.
Yeah. But
All
like
right. Well,
the clones here are also, this is like an early thing for the clones where they're like, nobody's coming, nobody gives a crap about us. We're expendable.
right.
But
Did
that,
I move ahead?
I don't know, maybe.
I don't know what I did. Oh no, I just narrowed it down to like 2 slides.
That's all good.
I have more slides as we get going here, but this one I was very light on it.
Yeah.
Um,
But like Plo Koon is keeping hope, whereas
absolutely
they've given
is.
up. But that's going to come back too, because it's not only does Plo Koon care about his troops,
Right.
Ahsoka does as well. And like she's coming at it from, I know the rest of them are like military strategy.
Yeah,
Cut our
yeah.
losses. There's no survivors. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But she's like, well, what if there are?
That's the thing. That's that thing I was saying about she's this like boundless well of hope, and
Yeah.
that's the thing that is pretty much well right up until she leaves the Jedi Order. I mean,
Yeah.
that's and even after that, once she grows up a little bit and matures a little more, that sense of like the endless wellspring that does come back.
Yeah.
But she's an embodiment of that very consistently through most of her appearance in Star Wars.
Yeah.
We get another example of this weird relationship between Anakin and Ahsoka as Anakin basically makes up this excuse to go off on his own
We're gonna scout ahead.
without telling her. Like he doesn't tell her. Like when it's like, don't talk. She speaks at a turn, basically gets reprimanded by him,
Yeah.
and you learn. And then he's like, "But we're gonna go and do it anyway." And it's like,
Well, she
can
doesn't
you
realize that until they get to.
this is what I mean, though. Like, can you imagine being her and being faced with that? Like, being
You just told me this.
do what I tell you to do, but then when I do this thing over here, just kind of forget about it.
Do what I tell you.
Like, it really sends mixed messages. And when
Oh,
you're talking about
absolutely.
the mentorship role, like, I can see how that impacts, her development as a character.
Yeah.
It doesn't send a very clear message to her.
No.
Hank says, it's funny in the third episode we look at tonight, Plo is like, we can't waste time looking for a single lost Padawan. Right.
True. That's kind of cold.
Well, Ahsoka protests that it's okay when Anakin doesn't follow what the council says, and then and the funny thing, and I laughed watching this, is that he doesn't really address it. He says, doing what the council says is one thing, but how we go about doing it is something else. And there is that from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
Exactly. As Hank says, he's teaching her to craft her rebelliousness. Absolutely.
Yeah. But do it in a way that doesn't appear to be rebellious.
It's again the whole mixed message thing.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And again, maybe it's because of that, as I said before, that narrower
Age gap.
age gap makes it a little bit easier just because there's still two young people.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me, two young people. Now, we learn that the reason that Ahsoka is so intent on searching for survivors is because Plo Koon is one of her oldest friends, and that was Plo Koon that brought her to the Jedi Temple. And like I said, missed opportunity by not having that in Tales.
Missed opportunity for now.
Yeah. As Ahsoka and Anakin search for the wreckage for survivors, Plo Koon and the clones exit their pod to fight the battle droids in the vacuum of space.
So we do get to see Jedis outside fighting in space.
We do. In fact, Plo Koon, he's like, he says, makes a point of saying, I can survive
for a little while,
for a short period of time. I was thinking like a minute, not like the rest of the episode, as he just hangs out outside. No problem. Yeah. We get introduced to I think the whole arc introduces, but Plo Koon was in command of I don't know the clone battalion number, but it's Wolf's battalion.
Yeah.
So all the Wolf guys. Ahsoka shows her frustration when no one responds to their hails, and surprisingly, it's Anakin that tells her to have patience.
Yeah.
Coming from the guy who murdered the men, the women, and the children. Patience.
Yeah.
Hank says she's purer than Anakin in a lot of ways, and she does what he cannot when faced with disillusionment with the Jedi Order. She walks away.
True.
Yeah. And it's Plo Koon that actually defends her, not defends her in the legal sense, but is supportive of her, doesn't believe that she's the murderer, and they hang her out to dry anyway.
Yeah.
And we're getting way ahead of ourselves on that one.
The Jedi are clouded.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is a great meme floating around now with Anakin and Padme. And she's like, but I have to get powerful to save you. And she's like, forget it. Let's just leave. I'm rich. We'll go chill.
Yeah. When the council finds out that Anakin has taken his Padawan to search for survivors, Yoda says, twice the trouble they have become. So true. And again, Ahsoka really is to Anakin as Anakin is to Obi-Wan. Now, after an admonishment from the Supreme Chancellor, Anakin is about to return to his fleet, but it's Ahsoka and her special connection to Plo Koon through the Force that she implores Anakin to stay and continue the search, insisting that she knows he's alive because he can sense it. You really get that contrasting view where he's kind of he's doing this sort of meditative thing as he's kneeling on the escape pod, and she's kind of staring at the control board of the ship.
Yeah.
And then she's like,
wait. It's almost like Rey and Kylo Ren connecting.
Similarly, yeah. I take this more to be part of that special relationship that she has with Plo Koon.
Yeah.
And it's cool that he is this recurrent character throughout her development. But this episode really early on in the series lets us know that there are other influential Jedi in her life besides Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Plo Koon could have been a great. Can you imagine if Plo Koon had have been her, if she had been his Padawan learner and not Anakin Skywalker? It would have been a very different
different result.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah,
maybe not. She may still have come to the same conclusions, but I think she would have stayed in the order longer. Yeah. Unfortunately for him, I mean, he bought it in a Starfighter in Order 66.
Yeah.
Right. So that is our first one. That is that was Rising Malevolence. And as I was saying, like these three episodes largely, from my perspective, are sort of relationship stuff.
Yes.
That really sort of inform us about her relationships and how she forms relationships with people. And he says, Tara Sinube stands out to me. I guess he would too, wouldn't he? She's got that thing with all of like, not everybody, but I guess there are a couple people that she has that sort of thing. It's right in the first episode when they meet, and she actually greets Plo Koon with that, Kotoya, Master Plo. Kotoya, Ahsoka. And she speaks to him in like his native language. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. All right, let's get on to the next one here. Oh, and there you go. Doesn't that summarize the whole episode right there? Yeah. People influential in her life.
Yeah. And she like saves him, right? They pull him in, still hanging on to the outside of the pod.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one. Now, this one, season 1, episode 19, it's a Storm over Ryloth. This is the 22nd episode chronologically, originally airing February 27th, 2009. So just a few months after the last one. Now, Ahsoka disobeys Anakin's orders and loses most of her squadron, prompting Anakin to give his Padawan a lesson in respect for authority and an opportunity for redemption. Man, this one is the classic get back on the horse.
Yeah. If there ever was one.
Yeah. Like if you don't do this, you never will.
Yeah.
Again, though, it leans into some of the stuff we saw in the last episode about this. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
That rebelliousness that Hank was talking about. Well, the Techno Union have invaded Ryloth, and Anakin's fleet has been assigned to respond. This is Ahsoka's first command as she leads a starfighter squadron of V-19 Torrent fighters. Well, she's nervous, and Anakin drives it home how the men are depending on her and how their lives depend on her leadership, which only serves to reinforce Ahsoka's anxiety about it. But Anakin believes in her, otherwise he wouldn't have sent her on this mission. Now, at first, the assault it goes well for Ahsoka and her squadron, but when the enemy commander recognizes Anakin's Star Destroyer, He presumes that Anakin himself is leading the attack, and he sets up a trap by ordering 4 additional Munificent-class star frigates to reinforce the blockade. Spotting the trap, Admiral Yularen tries to warn Ahsoka and her squadron of the danger, but she insists that she can make her attack run on the Lucrehulk battleship, and she orders her squadron to stay the course. That whole I'm young, I've got something to prove, and I have to do this.
I'm almost there. Let me finish it.
Yeah, I can do this. Great. Confidence is great. Yeah. Overconfidence gets people killed. Yeah. Oops. Well, the closer they get, the thicker the enemy fighter screen grows, and the harder it becomes for the clones to maintain any sort of formation. When the droid fighters pierce the Republic lines, Anakin makes another order for Ahsoka to return to the ship, and annoyed as she says, all right, she breaks off her run. What do we got here? Hank's going to say something here. What's he saying? Let's not forget the pressure that she's under. No, I don't. Jedi were never meant to be military leaders. She's a child soldier at the end of the day, still learning to rule her emotions. You know, that child soldier thing, that is a huge consideration. Yeah. I never even thought of that. But yeah, that's a whole other conversation on that topic. But yeah, the whole Jedi not meant to be leaders. They weren't meant to be soldiers. They were meant to be peacekeepers, protectors of the peace. Yeah. I feel like we start to walk a fine line though, like a protector of the peace. A police officer, especially look at what's going on in the United States. There's a very fine line between being a police agency and being a military force, where sometimes the lines get blurred, and certainly that's kind of true of the Jedi, going out and defending worlds that maybe don't have their own sort of, agencies to sort of look after that. And then, of course, the Clone War breaks out and it becomes something else altogether. But yeah, 10,000 or something Jedi at the outbreak of the Clone War, and how many of them with Padawans out in the in the world? How many child soldiers are we talking about? Oh,
10,000.
Yeah.
Figure.
Or something like that. I guess not every Jedi takes a Padawan learner.
Yeah.
I assume most would, though.
Yeah, once you get the rank,
it is kind of part of that, pass on what you have learned thing. Yeah. She is crazy insubordinate to Yularen. Cool your jets, Admiral. Yeah, I made a point. I did write that down, actually. Now, when Anakin's command ship starts taking heavy fire from the enemy fighters, Yularen calls Ahsoka, demanding to know where they are. What kills me about this one, and this is just one of those plot things, you got 3 Venator-class Star Destroyers. You tell me that the other 2 had no fighters that they could launch?
Yeah.
They make it sound like...
presence.
They make it sound like her squadron is the only one.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. But anyway, where are the fighters? And she retorts with, cool your jets, Admiral. We're almost there.
Shut up, Admiral. You're not a Jedi. Really.
But it's too late, because one of the Vulture droids pulls a kamikaze at the bridge of the ship, which ends up wounding Yularen in the process.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that point actually will come up later, but it hits her home more when she learns that.
Oh, fact. Does it ever? Yeah. This whole respect for authority, and I think that's sort of one of the driving points here. One of the lessons that she learns here.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Which kind of dovetails into the next episode, talking about respect, not just respect for authority, but respect for experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Yularen is a career. Trap. He's a career Navy man. He knows, he's a strategist.
Yeah, he saw it coming, and
exactly. Well, as Ahsoka and the remains of her squadron make a run for the Venator, the Torrent fighters are picked off one by one until it's just Ahsoka and 2 others that make it back. Of the 3 Venators in Anakin's fleet, one of them is completely lost, having broke up in the firefight, while the remaining 2 burn as they limp away.
One more severe than the other.
After the battle, Anakin tells Ahsoka how disappointed he is in her. With her head hung low, she tells him that she knows, but she thought she could break through the enemy fighter screen to make it easier for Obi-Wan's fleet when they arrived. Anakin says that he knows she meant well, but in doing so, she disobeyed both Admiral Yularen and himself. He reminds her that there is a bigger picture that she isn't always aware of, and that the first rule of war is to listen and obey her superiors. Aww. Hank says she has blood on her hands after this. No one is ever the same after that. No, and this is the burden of leadership, like the true burden of leadership. Having been in some real world situations where life has been lost, nobody comes home the same from that. And if you are a leader of soldiers and you lose people under your command, it messes with you. It really, really can. It's a hard lesson, indeed, as Ahsoka points out how Anakin himself often gets carried away. There we go again with, hey, it's okay when you do it.
Yeah.
And she's even making a point of telling him that she recognizes that he does that.
Yeah.
And Anakin does this weird thing because he doesn't actually address the fact that he's calling her on his crap. He deflects it and tells her, that just means I understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
Okay, Anakin, you've lost soldiers before, but that the other part of that is she's bringing it up again, that it's okay for you to do these things when you deem it okay, but it's not okay for me.
Yeah.
And then he like banishes her to her room.
Yeah, go to your room.
Go cool off.
That's right. Forlornly, Ahsoka reflects on how many pilots she lost, and Anakin breaks it to her that it is the reality of command. Now, reporting to Mace Windu and Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin tells them that they lost a Venator and an entire squadron of fighters. Obi-Wan asks about Ahsoka and tells Anakin to give her time, but also that he will need her to get through the coming battle. And it's a cool moment. It's a nice little nod to remind us that this is Anakin's story too, and Obi-Wan is still, passing on the pearls, right?
Did Obi-Wan have a vision that says,
I don't know.
Something tells me you're going to need it.
Oh, yeah. Hank says he's almost as immature as she is. Yeah, very much so. Again, and, it never really came to me before today, but thinking about that, again, that age gap and how much narrower it is between these two characters makes it much easier to understand, like,
more of a brother-sister than a
almost. Yeah. I mean, Obi-Wan says in Revenge of the Sith that, he loved Anakin like a brother. But Anakin actually talking about Obi-Wan to, I think he was talking to Padme in one of the movies, and he basically said Obi-Wan is like a father to him. So it's a very interesting perception of those relationships.
Point of view,
yeah. Spot on, Andrew Daw.
Sweet.
Good for you. Well, in the sickbay of Anakin's Venator, Ahsoka sits beside the unconscious Yularen, who's lying on a bed. She takes his hand, and as she reflects on the dead pilots, and she tells him how sorry she is. Then Captain Rex walks in to tell her that Anakin is looking for her. Now, finding Anakin in the hangar, working on his starfighter, the two of them talk about how she's feeling. Now, Ahsoka tells him she's fine, but the tone of her voice suggests that she is anything but.
And the Admiral did hear that.
Yeah, because he kind of opens his eyes.
Either that woke him up, or he heard the whole apology.
Still, Anakin continues telling her, good, because he's going to need her level-headed if they're going to pull off another attack on the Ryloth blockade. Now, Ahsoka has a moment of panic, and she blurts out, we can't! She's angry with Anakin because not only do they not have the forces that they had the last time, they don't even have a plan. And she goes off. We don't even have a plan. Yeah. And
this is again him
doing his thing. Whatever.
Everybody in on it.
Whatever. Don't worry about it.
Because he keeps Rex in the dark.
Yeah, he keeps everybody in the dark. But again, I think that's a case of if it got back to say like, Mace Windu, he'd have been shut down. Again, it sends a very mixed message in terms of that, like, especially in this episode where he's like, first rule of war, listen and obey.
Yeah. Listen to which version?
Listen and obey, but how you go about it, it's kind of flexible.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
It is.
Well, she gets angry and she points at him and she's like, "No, that's what you said the last time, and now everyone's gone. My whole squadron." There's a little survivor's guilt for you.
Yeah.
Tempering her anger, she tells Anakin they can't just smash through the blockade. While admonishing her, Anakin orders Ahsoka to go back to her quarters and cool off. Oh.
But at the same time, he just gave her the idea. Or
she gave him the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that, that they do have the relationship that they do, that he actually considered what she said, not just go to your room and I'm just going to keep pushing ahead the way that I was going. Like,
because at that point he's directionless. He's like, we got to attack.
Yeah.
How the hell are we going to do it?
How do we do it? Now we're down a ship.
Yeah.
And a squadron. Well, when klaxons ring out aboard the Venator, Ahsoka goes to the hangar to find Anakin ordering the evacuation of the second ship. Turns out that he is the one that actually ordered it. Now, turning over the evacuation to Rex, Anakin talks to Ahsoka about how the idea that he got was actually from her. Now, shocked by his assertion, she says, "Great." Like, it's just like, "Oh, great. What do you mean? What did I do wrong now?
My idea didn't work the first time. What thinks you this
one will?" Yeah. Well, Anakin recounts that she was at least partially right about not being able to smash their way through the blockade, and that his earlier plan, or lack thereof, did in fact put a lot of people at risk. So he's at least recognizing that.
Yeah.
So he's decided to pilot the empty Venator alone and crash it into the enemy battleship, taking out the commander in the process. Now, Ahsoka argues that if he does that, he'll be killed in the process. But Anakin counters that he and R2 will jettison in an escape pod before impact, and that it's up to her to command the remaining forces to engage the enemy while he bobs around helpless in the escape pod. Doesn't even give her a chance. Like, she's like, okay, good. See you later.
Yeah.
Ahsoka nervously tells him she can't do it, that she can't be responsible for something else going wrong. Anakin tells her flatly she is responsible, and not only are the men depending on her, but so is he. And there it is, that get back on the horse. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to make you get back on the horse.
Yeah.
Kind of good that he did, I suppose, because I mean, you could endlessly swirl in that, it's my fault for a long time.
And she does swirl a little bit here.
A bit.
But eventually something just clicks.
Yeah. Well, still nervous, and as Hank says, the deep end. Oh, very
right
much.
In.
Very much.
Still, as he's boarding the ramp, he's like, men, she'll take care of you.
Yeah, that's right. And they're like, what? and even Rex is confused because he says at one point, I don't know who the officer is that they're talking to, but they both kind of do the whole, like, I wish he had told us about this.
Yeah, because then they
talk to us. Yeah. Which they realize, oh, sorry, we're not trying to insult you, but
downplay your leadership.
But... Right. But you are kind of untested. Yeah. Still nervous and uneasy about what happened the last time, Ahsoka tries to protest, but Anakin cuts her off by getting the attention of all the clones. Attention, everybody. And he tells them that he is taking over the Defender and leaving Ahsoka in charge of the second half of the mission when they engage the Techno-Union blockade. Ignoring Ahsoka's pleas, Anakin boards his shuttle while the clones look to their new commander for orders. And with her shoulders slumped, she tells them she'll be on the bridge and walks away. Oh.
Put her on the spot right there.
On the bridge, Anakin and Ahsoka share one last, "Are you sure about this?" Before launching their attack. Now, Rex, he calls the plan questionable, and another clone officer points out that with 3 Venators, they couldn't do it. Rex wishes that Anakin had discussed the plan with them because the odds are very much against them. Now, there is a reluctance from the clones to follow Ahsoka here, as she is still unproven as a leader. Hank says, it's early in the war. Rex is still getting to know Anakin's methods. Yeah, that's so true, isn't it?
He's still technically developing his own methods.
Yeah. Well, he kind of makes it up as he goes.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's so consistent with that character.
Yeah.
Emerging from hyperspace over Ryloth, Anakin contacts the Separatist commander under the guise of surrender.
A bold move.
Very much so. But in exchange, he'll need safe passage for food and medical supplies to the surface. Now, the proud general considers
and for everyone on the ship.
Well, yeah.
He plays his bluff.
Everyone. All me and my droid.
Yeah.
Sorry, but in exchange, he'll need safe passage for food and medical supplies to the surface. The proud general considers the offer, knowing how Anakin's capture would make him the envy of the entire Confederacy. Back on the bridge with Ahsoka, Rex, and the clone officer, they question even if Anakin takes out the battleship, how will they deal with the remaining cruisers? Because there's like, what, 6 of them?
At least.
Yeah. Now, Ahsoka actually comes up with a pretty interesting idea, and she says, well, if we point the dorsal hull at the enemy bridge, or at the enemy, the bridge and the hangar would be protected from enemy fire, and they could use that to draw the cruisers in before deploying their bombers to outflank them. Well, the clone officer says they need to take more time to plan. But having now regained her confidence, Ahsoka puts her foot down and shouts, there is no more time. And Anakin needs them now.
Yeah, like he's forced their hand at this point. Yeah, he's already in motion.
The plan is already like underway. Yeah. So you either go with this or you don't. And either way, you live with the outcome.
Yeah.
Which is, it's hard because, I mean, we're not even talking... We don't know what the passage of time is like in this episode, but they make it feel like it is a very, very short amount of time.
Yeah, because the captain of the Techno Union there, he's like, give me the report. I want to read up on him.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, he's going to be back. This is what it tells me.
He totally expects it too, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, sorry. Just then, the voice of Admiral Yularen rings out and says that she's right, as Yularen strides onto the bridge, with his head bandaged up, of course.
Yeah.
He calls the move very bold, but these circumstances call for drastic measures. That's pretty cool to have that. I mean,
the strategist backs you up on your play.
That's exactly. Cool. That's got to be a big confidence booster.
Yeah. And I really like this plan because it's not ordinary. Like, you wouldn't think to roll a destroyer on its side and use it as a shield.
I'll just show my belly. The whole idea of showing your belly in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
That's just like, what? Again, though, I like that. One thing that Star Wars doesn't do very well is think of space battle in terms of 3 dimensions. Yeah. And so this was actually one of those like,
it took it into account.
That's cool. That's very cool. Well, over Ryloth, the enemy commander learns that the Republic ship is empty. Anakin has set it for a collision course. Meanwhile, Ahsoka and Admiral Yularen arrive behind him, while Ahsoka points out how chaotic it will be when the 2 ships collide, and that is the time that they'll need to get Anakin's escape pod into their tractor beam. Interestingly enough, they actually didn't go with the tractor beam, even though they called for it.
They flew someone out to get him.
Oh, sorry. Hank says it's a great move in 3D chess. Yeah. Great minds. Yeah, of course. Sorry, tractor beam. We didn't use the tractor beam, which is interesting. Well, leaving the bridge, Ahsoka asserts that she'll lead the fighter squadron. Oh, talk about getting back on the horse. Like, quite literally, I'm going to do this again.
Yeah.
She will lead the fighter squadron and to wait for her signal to begin the attack.
Technically, she's laid a trap of her own here.
Kind of, because she's got to...
Because they got to draw them in.
They got to pull the cruisers around to attack the bridge,
Don't give them enough time to get out of there.
Or to damage
the smaller fighters do it.
Right. And cool, the fighters that they use.
Yeah.
The bluff is successful, and the 2 ships, in fact, collide, but not before the Neimoidian commander escapes, leaving the droids in disarray. And realizing their commander has abandoned them, none of the droids want to assume command.
No.
But eventually they figure it out, and the munificent cruisers move in to attack.
I love the line from Rex here, though. The Admiral's like, okay, they're not going for it. We got to bail. He's like, they're droids. Just give them a...
Yeah, give them. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. With a mixed squadron of Y-Wings, Republic Y-Wings going at it, and Torrent fighters, Ahsoka wreaks havoc on the cruisers. With the blockade broken, the way is cleared for Mace Windu and Obi-Wan Kenobi to move in with 3 acclimator assault ships and begin their landing to liberate Ryloth.
And they just coast right in.
They do. They just plow right through it, and they make short work of the cruisers at that. The Y-Wings proving to be very effective. And it goes exactly like she said. The smaller ships are much faster and more maneuverable, and because they're in so close,
they can't do anything about it.
It was easy enough to just skip from ship to ship and bomb the crap out of them. Anakin, meanwhile, watches from the comfort of his escape pod and enjoys the show until he's finally picked up by a shuttle and the episode ends.
Yeah.
She
runs through the whole emotional gambit here, though.
Yeah, totally.
Like from overconfident to, lost to.
The one thing that we can say, I think we can say definitively about Ahsoka is the special, sticking with that theme of special relationships, is she has a special relationship to the clones.
Yeah.
And it's not just the clones that she works with, it's all the clones. She feels something for them that, it's very apparent by the time we get to season 7 and towards the end of everything, where like we witness that firsthand. But this is some of the early sort of like diving into that sort of what's informed that relationship, again, having lost those clones directly under her command.
Kaloon said in the previous episode, and the clones are like, we're just clones, and he's like, not to me.
No, exactly.
That goes for a lot of the Jedi, but her especially.
Yeah. Hank says they came to respect her so much. Yeah, they really do. They really, really do. I think because, in terms of like and we talked about it in some of our other shows, the whole, the joke about droid rights, but like clone rights came up in the Bad Batch. And I think Ahsoka was sort of one of the earliest
advocates for them.
Yeah. Even though it kind of didn't do anything
that we know of yet.
True.
Season 3.
Come back on Tuesday night when we do random fandom, because I got a point I got to make on that. That's exciting stuff if you've been watching the news. All right. So what'd you think of that one?
I liked it. I mean, you put it through the ringer, but she comes out that much more wise and mature.
Do you think you could have handled all of this at 14?
No.
Me neither. No. Here's a multi-million-dollar warplane. By the way, go and lead a bunch of men to their death.
Yeah.
Be home in time for dinner.
The other thing that we actually should talk about on Tuesday as well, with the Nemoidian.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to Phantom Menace, where it was the typical Asian type.
Oh, person. Yeah. They really leaned into that on this episode.
They did.
Yeah. They did not shy away from that.
Because it's funny. I just read an article on the top 50 most offensive movies. And that leans into it really hard.
It really does. It really, really does.
Different time, different place.
We got one more episode we got to get through. This one, as I was writing, the more cumbersome it got. So I apologize now. This is going to be the most writing and the most number of slides. But we will get there.
But
here we go.
This one, the hope resonates.
Yeah, it really does. This one is season 3. Episode 21. It's called Padawan Lost. This one was the 65th overall chronologically. 65, that's a pretty significant number, or at least it used to be back in the 80s and 90s. 65 was the number of episodes you needed for an animated or a series, basically to run Monday to Friday for a 13-week TV schedule. So basically what you used to need for syndication. Now it's more like 100. Yeah. This one aired March 19th, 2011. So we're now what, 3 years? 2009, I think, was our last episode. 2009. So we're 3 years later. And our episode synopsis reads: Ahsoka and a group of abducted younglings find themselves trapped on a Trandoshan moon, prey in an elaborate and cruel hunt. The forlorn younglings have lost all hope despite the best efforts of their spirited leader, Khalifa. Ahsoka rallies them to defend themselves and strike back against the Trandoshan, an effort with deadly consequences. This episode is easily one of the most macabre episodes, I think, of the entire series. I did make a list of what some of the things I saw, And I know I missed a few because I just couldn't tell what they were, but we'll get there.
Yeah. On the last episode, Hank says, Chewie. But he says she grows parsecs.
She grows parsecs. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. Parsnips? Couldn't resist the snips comment.
Cool it, Sky Guy.
I need to put a groan button on here. All right. So this one's kind of cool because this goes back. This is a location that we saw in Attack of the Clones. In Revenge of the Sith. Mm-hmm. So it gives you an idea how long the siege of Felucia was going on. Yeah. Felucia is under siege, and it's up to Jedi generals Plo Koon, Anakin Skywalker, and his apprentice Ahsoka Tano to secure an outpost as General Grievous sends more droid reinforcements. As the three Jedi watch the reinforcements arrive, Master Plo suggests the three of them split up and attack from three sides where they can all meet in the middle. The Jedi move to get into position, but along the way, Ahsoka senses something in the forest, but she dismisses it as an animal. And she's like not really wrong either.
Because the Trandoshans are running off like basically the reptile brain, all instinct, right?
They really lean into that animalistic quality of them in this episode, especially when they get to the guy that they fight sort of hand to hand.
Yeah.
Well, the Jedi, I just read that one. When the droid forces detect the approaching walkers, Master Plo orders his artillery to fire on the compound. While focusing their attention on the approaching walkers, the droids drop the front gate to mount a counterattack.
Yeah, they basically open the door and say, come on in.
Yeah, they just open the front door. Okay, come on in.
Where's your strategy droid on that one?
Yeah. Anakin's forces attack the droids, spilling out the front gate, while Master Plo and his jetpack troopers assault the landing ship inside the compound.
I laughed at that point.
Why is that?
Well, he uses the force and just force jumps right in.
Oh, yeah, and they're all
like, and then, of course, the jetpacks come and play. It's like, okay, they got jetpacks. They can keep up with them.
While Ahsoka's troopers use ascension guns to scale the wall, a Trandoshan watches her from a concealed position.
And I love this part too, because this shows how much more she's grown too, right? She doesn't rush up the wall. She waits. Everybody is
everybody over the wall, then me.
Yeah. Taking care of her squad.
Well, and when the last trooper goes over the wall, the Trandoshan steps out from his concealed position and he shoots Ahsoka with what looks like an electrified net gun, rendering her unconscious before he drags her off into the forest. Man, if it was only that easy. Just going to go bag a Jedi today.
Yeah. I wonder how much juice is in that thing.
Yeah. Securing the outpost, the Jedi realize that Ahsoka is missing, and Anakin tries to call her, but his Padawan has conveniently had her comlink removed as she wakes up in a dark cell, seeing her Trandoshan captor crushing it in front of her. Well, looking around, she sees another cell occupied by a male Snevian. That's our snaggletooth species. Snevian. Ahsoka asks who the pirates are, and the Snevian tells her that their Trandoshan captors are going to release them so they can be hunted for sport. So we're getting an episode of Predators surviving the game.
Yeah,
if you've seen that one.
Was that with Ice-T?
It was with Ice-T.
Yeah. Same idea. Drop a bunch of dudes off and hunt them.
Hank says we see the evolution of Ahsoka's clothing too. Yeah. So now season 3, she's aged up a little bit now, and she's in her second look, I guess you would call it.
A little bit more armor, a little bit more functionality.
A little less midriff.
Yeah.
A little less let's pimp her out.
Yep.
I never liked that look. I'm sorry.
Well, I
was never a fan of it.
She's not a tween. She got to cover.
That's true. No, yeah, you're right.
Protect her midsection.
Right. Excuse me. But it turns out that the hunt will not be here on Felucia as their ship lifts off and makes the jump to hyperspace. Ooh. Arriving on an unnamed planet, the Trandoshan ship hovers low over a remote mountain. Did I write that correctly?
It's like a mountainous island.
I guess it was, yeah. hovers over a remote island where Ahsoka and 4 other prisoners are dropped from their cells onto the beach before one of the Trandoshans shoots at them from the ship in order to drive them off into the nearby woods. He says, let's see how many of them are smart enough to get in the game. That's exactly what he says. Yeah. Sadly, 2 of the captives are gunned down before they can get off the beach. Then the pirate ship pulls away, leaving the survivors to fend for themselves. Well, separated and on her own, Ahsoka makes her way aimlessly through the woods, pausing to observe her surroundings. Suddenly, 3 other young people literally drop in on her from the trees. A human girl, a Twi'lek boy, and a Syrian boy. Hank says, pretty brazen to troll prey in a combat-ravaged battlefield.
Yeah.
Well, they had no way of fighting back. I guess, yeah. Well, the girl tells Ahsoka that you need to come with us. And when Ahsoka asks, who are you? The girl tells her that they used to be Jedi younglings. And the 4 of them then take off into the trees. Now, arriving at what looks like a treetop shelter, the Twi'lek boy tells her that they didn't stand a chance, that the Trandoshans attacked them while they were on a training mission before bringing them all to this planet. Ahsoka asks, well, why would they want to capture younglings? And the boy tells her, because Jedi Knights are too powerful. Now, there's a cool thing here, which is like they say that they've been here for over 3 rotations, but they also say that they are younglings. They're not Padawan learners like Ahsoka, but these kids look like they're pretty much almost as old as she is.
Yeah.
They're not very far off.
No.
So how long is 3 rotations on this planet?
Like, who took some younglings out to train and was like, well, I'm going back with them.
Yeah, we're just going to leave you here. You guys are on your own. See you later.
Yeah.
Could it be the same thing, though, how they got Ahsoka? She was alone.
Yeah.
She was separated from Anakin.
But at the same time, Anakin is like, we need my Padawan.
Yeah.
Whereas if this guy's lost them, where is the search party?
True. That's true. Well, we're going to get to that because I know Anakin has a lot to say about that.
Yes, he does.
The girl introduces herself as Khalifa. The Syrian is Omer, and Jinx the Twi'lek. Now, Ahsoka tells them that she is a Padawan learner and that she was captured during the Battle of Felucia.
It almost seems insufficient at this point to call her a Padawan learner.
And yet she is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. Like when we see Anakin in Attack of the Clones, he's, it's 10 years later.
Yeah, and he's still a Padawan.
Yeah. It's only that, when Obi-Wan uses the "my Padawan" line.
Yeah.
Khalifa explains that they were taken to be hunted and killed and to be mounted as trophies, something we're going to get to see a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Jinx says that they've been there for over 3 rotations and no one has come for them, and it is clear that he is despondent. Back on Felucia, the search for Ahsoka continues. Master Plo tells Anakin that he has alerted their forces in the Outer Rim along with their intelligence assets inside the Confederacy. If she's spotted, they will know about it. Even Padme says, you're just a Padawan. That's true, yeah. So even the everyday citizenry recognizes the difference, I guess.
Yeah.
Or the perceived difference, anyway. Master Plo tells Anakin that their mission on Felucia is over and they are to return to Coruscant. But Anakin insists that he won't abandon Ahsoka. Master Plo tells him, and this could have been right from Obi-Wan. He says, "You're letting your emotions cloud your judgment." Never heard that before in reference to Anakin Skywalker.
And at the same time, did Plo receive a vision or sense?
She's
no longer on planet.
I don't know. I think he's just more, there's a conversation that they have later on, which I think sort of explains sort of his position. It's that if you did your job, she'll do hers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Anakin says he won't leave her fate to others, and Master Plo tells him it's time to go. Reluctantly, Anakin recalls Rex and his forces, and they do in fact leave. Well, the following morning, Khalifa wakes Ahsoka, telling her it's time to go. that they move every day to keep the hunters from picking up their scent. Ahsoka scoffs as she says, "That's your plan?" Khalifa says, "If you're really a Padawan learner, then you'd know there's wisdom in experience," telling her that they've been here longer and you will learn if you listen, and only if you listen. You know, she's been through this with Anakin enough times already to know that um, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
We just saw that in the last episode, like that whole blind obedience thing. It doesn't necessarily work.
No. We got a couple coming from Hank there.
We can't look for a Padawan.
Yeah, that's the flip side there.
Of course they'll come for us. Yeah. Yeah. You would think though, as a kid, if you spend all that time, if you're always in the company of other people and you expect that these are the people who look out for you, of course you're going to think that they're going to come. Which takes me back to how long has 3 rotations been? Because
I would say they're counting it as 3 rotations of around the sun, like 3 years.
That's what I mean, like 3 years around of whatever the length of a year is on this planet.
Long enough for them to consider themselves that they used to be Jedi.
Right,
younglings.
We're not Jedi anymore. No one's come for us. This is our existence now. Yeah. We sleep in the trees and we move every day.
Because the one of them says, all we do is survive.
Yeah. Sorry, there's wisdom in experience telling her that you've been here longer and you will learn if you listen and only if you listen. This girl has definitely become hardened by her situation.
She's lost hope.
She's the only one who's sort of keeping it together for the rest of them. And yeah, she has completely lost hope. Yeah. To me, it's like I don't want to say running on instinct because that's not right, but it's like, there's this, they're in such a routine where she can't see outside of that anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Get up, run from the Trandoshans, sleep at night.
On the Trandoshan hunter ship, the lizard men revel at the dawning of the sun as they gather their gear to depart. Now, the Great Hall on their ship is a macabre collection of taxidermy and skins. The list of what I was able to pick out. Oh, that's true here. Hank says, Lord of the Flies. Kind of. They're not, at least they're not killing each other.
No.
There's the obvious one. There's the Wampa head with the skin, a complete Gundark.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole Gundark in there. Mounted busts of both a Gran and an Athorian. There are several Wookiee heads with no eyes and full skins. A mounted Rancor's head, a mounted Reek's head, a mounted Gungan head, and at least 2 other heads that I could not identify. But yeah.
The Wampa head making up the throne, though?
Yeah. Ooh. I got the heebs when I watched that.
Well, worse with the Wookiees with no eyes.
Yeah. When you see them it's one thing in the dark, but then there's a sequence when they're by the fire and the fire is illuminating them and they focus on them like.
Yeah.
I'm like,
they're not just pelts. They've been 3D'd
it's
up.
Full bodies, like a head with there's arms, a torso, and legs.
Yep.
Yeah, not cool. Well, the Trandoshan hunters all board repulsor skiffs and they head for the surface. In the trees, Ahsoka and the other kids move quietly from limb to limb, and Khalifa calls for them to stop as she hears someone coming. Then the 2 prisoners that arrived with Ahsoka walk past on the ground, and Ahsoka says that they should help them, but Khalifa tells her, no, it's too late, and they're gunned down by the hunters. Ahsoka stands with a stern look on her face. But Khalifa pulls her down again, gesturing for them to remain silent. Then the group move off away from the hunters. Hank says, Ahsoka owls keep making appearances here. I noticed that as well.
Were those the little gold birds?
Yeah, they were the little, I keep wanting to say Morai, but that's wrong. That's the name of that specific one. But the whatever species of owl.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like 3 of them in a row.
Yeah, like one lands and then another one lands beside it.
Yeah. Sorry, Ahsoka stands with the stern look on her face. Oh, sorry, I read that already, didn't I? Khalifa pulls her down again, gesturing for them to remain silent. Then the group moves off away from the hunters. Now, stopping the group, Ahsoka tells Khalifa they could have helped them. Khalifa says no. She says here on this world, they're not saviors, they're survivors. And if they'd been spotted, they'd be dead by now. That's awful.
Yeah.
Ahsoka tells Khalifa, well, you'll never get out of here if that's all you do, if you just keep hiding. And she says that you have to act. Well, taking a seat, Jinx tells Ahsoka that there were once other Padawans that thought the way that she does. When she asks where are they now, Khalifa angrily blurts out, "They're all dead," trying to rally the younglings. Good for Ahsoka. She tells the group that just because those Padawans failed, it doesn't mean that they will. And Omer tells her it's not that they don't want to fight, but the hunters have all of the advantages. At that, Ahsoka runs off while Khalifa chases after her, telling her to come back. Ahsoka says, "I can't do that. Her master would never forgive her for running and hiding in a situation like this." I believe that to be very true.
Yeah.
She has definitely picked that up. Like, there's an expectation of me, and I'm not going to let them down.
No.
Khalifa warns her, "Do not overestimate your abilities." Looking over her shoulder, Ahsoka tells her, "I'm not," and then slides down a thick vine towards the forest floor. Then, using herself as bait, Ahsoka walks fairly conspicuously along the forest floor. "Hello, lizard man. Come find me, lizard man." Yeah, exactly. I'm not. Within seconds, she's set upon by one of the hunters. They struggle hand to hand for a moment before the Trandoshan gets the upper hand. And just as he's about to shoot her, Khalifa, who has come up from behind, uses the force to rend the rifle from his hands. And she lifts the hunter several feet off the ground by his throat. The Trandoshan struggles to breathe as Khalifa tightens her grip. But then Ahsoka goes to her, telling the youngling, "Don't kill him out of hatred. It's not the Jedi way." Snapping out of her anger, Khalifa drops the hunter, and he's alive. This is very much like, you know, the sequence on the bridge when they capture the Supreme Chancellor.
Yeah.
And Palpatine's watching. Kill him. It's not the Jedi way. It's it's a similar sort of test, if you will.
Yeah.
Ahsoka passes this one, by the way.
Oh, yeah. And so does Khalifa.
Yeah, and I think because of who Ahsoka is, that it's been so long, these kids have been in this routine for so long, they can't see anything else. And so now they've got Ahsoka
who can actually show them a new way.
Right, and they're actually seeing her do something. There's this renewed sense of like, maybe all hope isn't lost.
Yeah. And the fact that she's now using the Force is like, hey, don't forget.
Yeah, we are
Jedi.
Yeah, exactly. The 3 Jedi younglings, even without lightsabers, you can't tell me that they're not a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. I mean, look at Grogu.
Yeah. All right. So, well, just as Ahsoka and Khalifa share a moment, the defeated hunter, he screeches something unintelligible in Dosh, which is the Trandoshan language, but it literally sounds like it's very Jurassic Park.
Yeah, akin to the raptors calling for help.
Barking.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm not even going to try, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
absolutely.
Raptor barking.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Calling for help.
Raptor barking. It's a thing now.
Yeah. Just getting like what was it? A coked out weasel?
Coked out ferret. A coked out ferret. Getting back to his feet, the hunter is set on by Omer and Jinx, and they quickly subdue him back into unconsciousness. So, taking the hunter's rifle, the children take off into the forest before more hunters arrive. Later that night, at another treetop campsite, Ahsoka can't figure out why the Trandoshan rifle won't work for her. And Jinx tells her that they deactivate the blasters whenever they're taken, which is why none of them have one. That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how they're doing that, remotely turning them off.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
We've seen other ones where it's like, you have to have a certain DNA or whatever on the trigger for it to work for you. Maybe it's only keyed to Trandoshans.
Oh, I was thinking the same thing. Like it's the Judge Dredd thing. You've got to have your hand on it. It's biometrics or something. Yeah. But maybe it is. I don't know. Coked out ferret. That's a reference to last night's activities. Which we're going to talk about that on Tuesday night too. Come back on Tuesday night when we're talking about
a good one.
Fandom. It's going to be fun. Yeah. Why it won't work. Tossing the blaster aside, a downtrodden Ahsoka rests her head in her hand as she contemplates what to do next. There's almost a little bit of like she kind of gets down for a minute.
Yeah.
Khalifa tells her it's been a long time since the Trandoshans captured another Padawan and brought them here, and she calls it a mistake on their part. She remarks that Ahsoka's energy and strength is what they've been lacking, that they had lost hope and forgot who they are. Looking up at the group, Ahsoka asks them, well, who are you? And a newly resolved Khalifa tells her, we're Jedi. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Now
all they needed was the coach to get him back.
They needed a motivational speech.
Yep.
Well, it's a very particular motivational speech.
It is.
Ahsoka says they need a strategy in order to go on the offensive. And because none of them know where the hunters come from, the first thing they have to do is to find out where they live. Later that night, on board the Trandoshan ship, the hunters are all gathered around a large fire bowl as they all ritually chant. And they're chanting like one of their names. It's Dar.
Yeah,
Dar,
I think it's the son of the
Dar.
king, right?
Yeah, the son of the red spiky guy.
Yeah. Because I think this is intended to be his rite of passage.
Yeah, it's his
Jedi.
His rite of Trandoshanhood, I guess.
Yeah.
Hunterhood? I don't know.
Maybe.
As the chanting builds into a crescendo, Ahsoka is startled from her sleep. There's another weird thing. Like, is that another Force premonition thing? Like,
could be.
In the same way that she was able to find or be certain that Plo Koon was alive.
Yeah.
Is this another weird, like the Force acting through her?
Saying, hey, get ready, this is coming.
I feel like this is definitely a Force thing.
Vision.
I don't think that it's her controlling it. I just think it's, sometimes you control it, sometimes it controls you.
It works through you.
Yeah, exactly. Looking around the treetop camp, Ahsoka can see that the others are still fast asleep, so she lays back down. The following morning, the kids take a pause in their search to rethink where they should be looking. But when Omer lays back against one of the tree roots, he's startled to see the Trandoshan floating citadel high above them. But just as they have spotted the hunters, so have the hunters spotted them. They all split up and run for it, just as the hoverpods descend on them with blasters ablaze. Jinx and Omer run in one direction, while Ahsoka and Khalifa another. Both groups manage to evade their pursuers, but when a branch gives out under Khalifa's feet, she falls to the forest floor, now an easy target for the hunters. The Trandoshan, Dar, leaps from the pod, telling the others he'll kill Khalifa with his own hands. Khalifa, meanwhile, injured from the fall, backs away into the thick undergrowth, trying to get away from him, but it's no use. She can't move fast enough. Reaching out with the Force, she hurls the hunter back into the trunk of a tree, where he slumps down, kind of stunned. It's enough to give her some time to climb into a nearby tree, but Dar is back on her in no time, chasing her as she climbs higher and higher. Now, having caught up to Khalifa, the hunter is unaware that so has Ahsoka. And when he levels his blaster, he's so focused that he doesn't see Ahsoka leap down on him from above. Now, they struggle hand to hand, with Ahsoka managing to knock the rifle from his hands. Eventually, they square off on this plateau, which is over top of a large like a thorn thing. Yeah. And when the hunter charges at Ahsoka, Ahsoka rolls back using her legs to vault the Trandoshan over the edge, where he lands on a sharp root, piercing his chest and killing him.
But at least she didn't do it out of anger.
Absolutely not. It's all totally in self-defense. It's all good. Rushing back to help Khalifa, she and Ahsoka make their way down onto the forest floor, but suddenly a blaster rings out and Khalifa is shot clean through the back. I guess clean to the chest?
Yeah.
Back to chest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Enough to do some bad
damage.
Bad,
yeah. It's Dar's father, and he's looking for revenge for the death of his son. But they can't get the hoverpod any closer because the brush is just too thick. So he fires his blaster in a rage in attempt to hit Ahsoka. Ahsoka tells Khalifa they have to move, but Khalifa, now breathing, very labored, tells Ahsoka to leave her. Of course, Ahsoka refuses. But Khalifa, knowing that her time is short, pleads with her to take care of the others before she takes her last breath. Yeah, more loss for Ahsoka as she loses another one. Collecting herself, Ahsoka leaves Khalifa's body on the ridge and she heads back into the forest. Well, back on Coruscant, at the Jedi Temple, Anakin studies a star map. Then Master Plo Koon enters the room and he asks him, "What is Ahsoka's strength?" Anakin tells him that she's fearless. Master Plo says that can also be a weakness, before asking if she's a worthy apprentice. Anakin says that no one has her kind of determination, but Master Plo remarks, "Except you." Anakin says, "I'll find her," but Plo Koon cautions him that that may not be within his power. Frustrated, Anakin blurts out, "Whatever you're trying to say, just say it." And as Master Plo leaves the room, he tells Anakin that if you have trained her well, she shall take care of herself and find a way back to you, leaving Anakin alone in front of the holotable. That is the end of that episode.
Yep.
So she doesn't even make it off the the island per se.
No, this is a cliffhanger ending that leads to the next episode.
Yeah, which actually the next one in the playlist. Is it? Okay, it is the follow-up.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the first 3 episodes of let me take this out of here. The first 3 episodes of the Road to Ahsoka from the Ahsoka Tano playlist on Disney Plus. If you haven't checked it out, I highly encourage you to go and watch them. Next week, we're going to be covering just the next 2, I think. If my math is right, we should be 2 episodes now every week until we're done. We get another comment here coming in here. I believe this is still Hank. Says, "These small things are why I love Clone Wars so much. As good as Revenge of the Sith was, it can make the Clone Wars feel like one battle." Yeah. It's a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I mean, we can say 7 seasons. It's not really 7 seasons. It's 5 full seasons. And then, a couple of episodes for 6. And then that final arc, which you might as well just watch it as an extension of Revenge of the Sith, but absolutely 5 full seasons of television that really flesh out the prequel trilogy and really build this character, Ahsoka Tano, into this fan favorite character that we all have an affection for.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is certainly one of Hank's favorite characters. And I mean, of the 3 of us, Hank has been the biggest champion for this, as I was the big champion for Andor. Hank is the cheerleader for Ahsoka. And it's so, I was so sad he couldn't be here tonight. I mean, you are here commenting. So, I mean, but it's, it's not the same. So yeah.
Better a little than none.
What did you think of these first 3 episodes, Andy? What do you think if you had to summarize sort of in terms of her development as a character?
It's leaps and bounds from where she starts.
Yeah. Huge difference from the first episode to this one.
Yeah. And, if that trend continues, you're going to get, we already know from what we've seen in The Mandalorian, she's light years beyond where she started.
I think one of the things is that, like I said, that first season back at the beginning, that the animated film and the first season. Now, having rewatched some of it, it's not as juvenile as I remember it being, but it is still definitely written at a lower level than, say, season 7, right?
And at the same time, right, I think she is written as your gateway for young kids to grow along with her, right?
That's a question that I would love to know if that was an intentional thing. Was it intentionally written that way for kids to, she's my entry point, she's my window into that world?
Yeah.
Because every kid wants to be, what kid doesn't want to be a Jedi, right? So let's make a kid a Jedi and follow their adventures.
Yeah.
Super cool. I'm glad we decided to take a look at this character, because I've been wanting to, with our love of the live action stuff that's happening. I've wanted to look back at some of these episodes to see what they bring or how they're going to inform what's coming in August.
And really, she factors in pretty heavily for their future plans, right?
Yeah.
We're going to find out just how heavily.
Absolutely, we are. What's that? So Hank says, "Oh, wait a second, we got another one here. What we got? We've got Team Ahsoka." Yes. Filoni admitted that they didn't really start writing her until she became popular. She was just an accessory for Anakin at first to make his fall more impactful. Yeah, that's kind of cool, because that whole, I saw it again today, that whole, the meme with the roses are red, I have a blaster, and then Mace Windu underneath that.
I haven't seen that one.
You are not granted the rank of master. I mean, you don't have to be the rank of master to take an apprentice. You just have to be a fully trained Jedi. So, I mean, any Jedi Knight could have had an apprentice.
Yeah, and he was granted the rank of Knight.
It's just after watching what Anakin went through, like I was floored that they gave, like early on, floored that they were going to give this guy an apprentice. This guy's unhinged. Like that's bad. That's bad. It can't work out for that, whoever that is.
If you thought Obi-Wan was reckless.
But ultimately it really has.
Yeah.
You know, you take everything that is Anakin Skywalker and you dump it into somebody who is way more adjusted, and maybe you get an Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah.
She's a great character. She really is a great character, and I can't wait to explore her further as we keep going on our Fandom Power, the road to Ahsoka Tano, which is going to take us all the way. Now, can we reveal the name of our next series?
I guess so.
This one comes straight from Hank. Oh, wait. Before we do that, Hank's got another comment. Obi had an unspoken order to keep a sharp eye on that relationship. Yeah, I'm sure he did. In the same way that he was watching the Anakin Padme thing. But I think, Obi-Wan maybe wasn't the only one who saw it. They all just kind of.
Yeah.
All right. So once we get through the road to Ahsoka, we will be going back to our deep dive stylings on the Ahsoka Tano show, and I think we have landed, courtesy of Hank, we have landed on Fandom Power presents
the Ahsoka Tano show.
Ahsoka Tano. It's so on brand for us. I snicker every time I say it, but I love it. So hang out, come back for that in 8 weeks. Of course, don't wait 8 weeks. Do come back and hang out with us every Tuesday night and every Sunday night. Tuesday nights, it's Random Fandom. I got a few headlines that I have curated already for this week's episode. Andy and I went to a digital movie premiere last night, which means we sat right here and we watched the digital premiere of Sky Hoshi.
Anime Girl.
Yeah, if you've watched our show before, we actually had an opportunity to sit down and talk to the writer and director, Kalani Hubbard. So last night we were invited to the digital premiere and the live Q&A with the cast, and it was a fun night. So I got some screenshots we'll share with you on Tuesday night, talk about that a little bit with a lot more, but you'll have to come back on Tuesday and see us. So more or less the same time, same channel. You know where we are. You can find us in all those places around over there. And like and subscribe and do all that stuff. Love you. It's a great episode. Thanks, man. We'll talk very soon. So that's it for me.
Yeah.
How about you? Yeah, I got nothing else. Hope you enjoyed this one as much as we did. Come back next week as we do it again on the road to Ahsoka. Until Tuesday night, though, for Fandom Power, my name is Wes.
I'm Andy.
And we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now. If I can make this equipment work.
Sure you can.
There we go.